Good morning, everyone. Brian here with BMK Magic Explorations. This morning I have for us a little bit of a video going over a very important symbol in a number of neo-pagan and other neo-pagan religious systems and a number of other magical systems. That is, we're going to examine what the difference is in terms of a little bit of the history on the meaning and what all they can be found in of both the pentagram and the pentacle. Now, generally speaking, a pentagram is this, a five-pointed star. That's what would be in geometry, and that's basically what it is in this case too. Probably do it this way. Of course, with this, one of the main differences is the circular enclosure makes it into a pentacle, which is one of the main differences between them. A pentagram itself is merely just a five-pointed star. Now, the pentagram technically is older, dating back to about 3,500 BCE. It was found in ancient Sumeria and Babylonia, where the Sumerians and Babylonians basically used it as a symbol which represented knowledge, and if I'm not mistaken, also a symbol of good health, or health generally speaking. Later on, around the early 900s BCE, it would enter into what we would know as Judaism and Christianity with King Solomon of ancient Israel. You see, he used it along with a magic ring to command and control demons and angels to build the Temple of Solomon, the first Jewish temple. Well, according to the accounts anyway. And his actually came in, excuse me, something on my tongue, a much greater variety than the just the standard five-pointed star. As a matter of fact, I'll try to do so on this channel's community feed, but also on my social media such as YouTube and Twitter later on. I will go ahead and share an image which goes over some of the pentagram and amulets that he would use. It shows you a few pictures of what they would have looked like. He usually drew them. He also employed the pentacle with the circular enclosure to some, but not as much, it doesn't seem like. That's one of the uses in magical systems for either one, especially a pentacle, where it's enclosed, is if one is summoning any type of spiritual being, whether say demon, angelic, or something else. Pentacle is commonly worn as a charm or an amulet, which you would keep it, say hidden down in, but whenever you want to, you would show it whenever you want to command or question whatever spiritual being you have summoned and are dealing with. Why? Because it serves as a symbol of your power and authority, that you know what the symbol of the pentacle or pentagram stands for, and thus implying you are a very powerful individual who knows how to command and control them, so they'd best just answer what you want to ask and do as you say. Well, that's the overall idea anyway. Later on, around 1561 AD, Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa would introduce the pentagram as a symbol for magical and esoteric purposes, whereas it hadn't been used that much except for maybe by the ambiguously historical King Solomon before that, though it was kind of found throughout ancient Greece, Egypt, ancient Rome. I mean, it's a common symbol that goes back way back into ancient history, so. Now, this was around the same time, too, that the pentacle itself started to be developed, and it was largely a small change, and was used a lot with the Middle Ages or the, I forget if it was the Renaissance or the Enlightenment movement, with magical practices starting to become more of a thing and more popularized during that period. That's when we get the Pentacle starting to become more of a popular thing and more common use, whereas, as I said before, the Pentagram goes back quite a bit further. Anyway, then Elphus Levi, or Elphias Levi, I forget how exactly you pronounce it, in the, I believe it was the 1800s sometime, would also make some use of it and such. He also would point out, he considered the inverted pentagram, that's upside down with the top point pointing downward and the two bottom pointing up, more or less like this. To be kind of an evil symbol. What's known as the goat of Mendez, which kind of depicts a goat just imposed in the background, is in Satanism or very satanic New Age movement, satanic religions, as they tend to. Theirs, yeah, it would be, I guess, wouldn't say they necessarily consider it entirely evil, or maybe they do, depending. But that's more or less the way that that one is on that one, whereas just a upside down inverted pentagram or pinnacle is not inherently in itself evil. Though it would be said that in Christian systems and all, or most others, the top point is said to point towards the heavens, in a way. Which I'll go into what some of those other meanings are in a bit. But this way, where it is inverted, upside down, it is said more to be as though evil forces with these 2 points are attacking the gates of heaven. Though still, not every interpretation of the inverted is considered evil. Anyway, also around the Middle Ages is a point where the pentagram and pinnacle both were around, and basically they were considered to, I don't know which ones because I couldn't find a graph on it, but the points were said to stand for 5 virtues: generosity, friendship, chastity, chivalry, and piety. Which is pretty good. For Middle Ages, that's a pretty good interpretation for the time. You could say it was a little bit more of a mundane interpretation of the symbology, but still works. And again, reason why I'm kind of crossing over between Pentagram and Pinnacle, although this is a video partially on their differences, is they have quite a bit of overlap. I mean, the Pinnacle is just a circular pentagram, so there's not a huge degree of area where they don't overlap, some in terms of meaning and such, and some of their history, except for the pentagram being technically older than the Pentacle. Anyways, we get more towards the modern era. Aleister Crowley would use it. Of course, although he wouldn't have considered it evil, he preferred the inverted version of a pentagram in his magical practices and all, and it's one reason why it was considered a little more a left-hand path and looked at as at least morally questionable by his former colleagues, I guess you could say, at the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Again, he was a controversial figure, but he more than likely wouldn't have claimed himself as any type of Satanist or anything like that. Crowley was just weird, like all of us are in a little way. Anyway, also it was adapted into the neo-pagan religion Wicca as a symbol that was much more popularized at that point by the founder of Gardnerian Wicca, Gerald Gardner, who basically got the Wicca movement started mostly. And maybe last but not least, which came somewhere in there probably well before this. It's also found, well, both of them are also found to a degree in Freemasonry. Of course, with their changes, somewhere, I forget if it's superimposed or juxtaposed in the back, would be a G standing for their belief in God, or at least a higher power. So, they're both symbols which have been around a very, very long time, probably much of human history, and which have been adapted and used with various meanings by many different systems, both magical and, as I said, back in the Middle Ages, a little bit more mundanely in some cases. As a matter of fact, it's even found in systems like Christianity. Judaism, I'm not sure as much, except for the example with King Solomon, but with Christianity, for one thing, the 5 points, well, again, the top point would be pointing towards heaven and God in a way, I guess you could say. Whereas also the 5 points would represent the 5 points when Jesus was supposed to have been crucified, he was pierced on or through. Those being the hands, feet, though since that wouldn't have been so practical, it's more than likely wrists and ankles. And also where he would have been pierced in the side by a Roman legionnaire soldier. Okay, and then there's some of the symbology, what the 5 points usually stand for. I should say that it can be found everywhere from Wicca, as I already mentioned, to Druidry or Neo-Druidry, Freemasonry, and different other variations, such as the inverted and the Goat of Mendes, or Mendes, I'm not sure how you pronounce that last part, in Satanism with the New Age movement. And it can also be found in Freemasonry with the fraternal orders, or I guess you could call them an esoteric order too. Which esoteric basically just means hidden or learned knowledge. You have to be a seeker to find it. But anyway, the symbology otherwise in the systems are pretty well known. It's probably best known, especially the Pentacle in Wicca. Well, the 5 points usually go like this. The right one would be for water, the top right. The bottom right would be for fire, bottom left, earth, and top left, air, with the very top being for spirit or aether, which basically the type of stuff that makes up everything in existence, and including all things supernatural, paranormal, 14, etc., and all magic types, it's, aether is one of the more, or spirit is one of the more mysterious ones. Of course, in Druidry, the order is a little bit changed around, with the top right representing air this time, bottom right representing fire, top right air, bottom right fire, because you gotta remember, I'm looking at the camera and it's opposite, just like if I'm looking in a mirror. Bottom left, earth, top left, water, and then again the very top is still spirit. And if you get into some other systems too, there are other orientations, including some Chinese systems. Actually, they do it a bit different this way, with the top left being for fire, the bottom left being for earth, and the bottom right fire, bottom right earth, bottom left, instead of spirit here, they've changed out for metal. And then top right, water, and then the very top is for wind, so they have a little bit of a different way around with that. Now, I forget if that's Taoism or what that system was. I forgot to write it down. But anyway, that's basically the symbology with it all, and there's symbols that can be found throughout much of magical systems. The pentagram, and the Pentacle, which have many variations and have been assigned different meanings in terms of their correspondences and have different significances. But they're two of the more prominent ones. I found that it's even found a little bit in heathenry, though neither the pentagram or Pentacle is a very common symbol in heathenry. It's one of the more minor ones that shows up once in a while. Maybe more along the Celtic neo-paganism side that kind of overlaps with heathenry, but it's just not as prominent. Neither one is as prominent there. Anyway, I hope that gave you guys a nice little overview over this symbology behind these two. I'm going to create a new playlist called Symbols, which this one's going to go into. That way it'll be a bit easier to find. Though, besides the symbology, it's also, like I said, a magical tool. Like I said, if you're going to be commanding any type of spiritual entity, you keep it hidden and show it whenever you're going to ask them a question or command them to do a task or something like that. And that's kind of considered essential so that they know that you have the power and authority that they should not challenge. That's the general idea. So it's a very, very interesting one in terms of symbology and as a magical tool, or a set of them with both the pentagram and the Pentacle. Anyway, I do have one recommendation link for you guys on this one this time. That's from my new preferred YouTuber I just subscribed to here recently, Symbols and Meanings. They have a much shorter video on this. I think it doesn't even run 2 minutes, but I tend to go over a bit more detail and, as I've noted before, have a bit more of a roundabout way of doing everything with it, so... Oh, and there is one other thing. I almost forgot about the correspondences, what they mean here. This does differ a bit, but they're pretty uniform across with only minor variations. Now, air is associated with intuition, knowledge, renewal, and change. For fire, we have passion, inspiration, intuition again, creativity, and protection. For earth, we have fertility, wealth, abundance, strength, and wisdom. For water, healing, expression, peace, and compassion. And for spirit, or aether, the soul, the divine, and the mystery. Couldn't find one for metal for the Chinese system, but maybe some other time. Anyway, almost forgot about that. This is why I get ready to make this well, I started out on the bottom of this page and didn't have enough room for one, or I probably wouldn't have made that little boo-boo. Anyway, again, my preferred YouTuber, Symbols and Meanings, does have a nice little, much shorter video on this topic, which I think you guys might also find informative if you want to check it out. In the meantime, if you enjoy this channel's content, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And please don't hesitate to leave any questions, comments, or suggestions down in the comments section below. Everyone have a wonderful, blessed Saturday, and hopefully I will see you all back here again in the next video.